I still remember the first morning we arrived at our new lot on the ridge. The sun was just rising, spilling gold across the valley, the mist curling gently around the trees. It should have been perfect. Our dream was finally taking shape. The smell of fresh earth, the sound of distant birds, the crisp, cold air. This was the moment you tell yourself, everything is going to be all right. Ava and I stepped out of the truck, surveying the cleared patch of dirt that would soon become our home. I had visions of timber, stone, wide windows framing that endless sunset. Ava, ever the practical one, was already walking the perimeter, checking for drainage, soil stability, and slope grade. "This is going to be amazing," she said, voice full of quiet certainty. I smiled, feeling lucky that she was with me. She had a way of seeing potential where I only saw challenges. But that morning, under that perfect sun, we were blissfully unaware that someone was already watching. The moment we stepped foot on our lot, we became targets. At first it was subtle. A note slipped under the door. "Make sure you're aware of the community rules." We laughed it off. Probably just a neighbor being overzealous, right? But then the next note came, more pointed. "Don't think this neighborhood welcomes outsiders." A chill ran down my spine. We brushed it off, still thinking, naively, that most people just had quirks. By the second week, the harassment escalated. Anonymous phone calls, strange figures lingering near the property, small acts of vandalism. Someone keyed a message into the dirt near our driveway. "Go home, view thief." We knew then this wasn't just someone being quirky. This was personal. Someone hated us, and it was more than simple dislike. It was a vendetta. Ava, in her quiet brilliance, began to set up defenses. Cameras, lights, alarms. She was meticulous, ensuring that every corner of the property was monitored. She catalogued every note, every act of vandalism, every suspicious movement. I, on the other hand, was furious. I wanted to storm out, confront anyone who dared, hammer in hand. But Ava insisted on patience. "We're not reacting yet," she said. "We're documenting. Every move they make will be evidence." And she was right. The first real shock came with the man claiming to be a state compliance marshal. He arrived late one Thursday afternoon, papers in hand, eyes sharp, demeanor official. "You are in violation of state compliance codes," he announced. "You must cease construction immediately." Ava calmly photographed the documents and recorded the interaction. I wanted to grab him, shake some sense into him, but Ava quietly guided me back. The man left, unaware that his act of intimidation had just been captured, time-stamped, and logged. This was our first lesson in strategy. We weren't fighting ignorance, we were fighting calculated malice. Over the next few days, our cameras began picking up strange movement near the property lines at night. Shadows flitted, figures crept, always careful, always testing. Then one evening, I watched in horror as two figures, later identified as Gary and Ted, members of the HOA board, sneaked onto our property to move the survey stakes. I wanted to run outside and confront them, but Ava held me back. "Let them finish," she whispered. "Every inch they touch is evidence. We documented every act, every stake moved, every insult thrown. Every petty attack became a layer in our legal fortress. They didn't realize it, but their own arrogance was undoing them. Then came the first direct attack. A concrete delivery was scheduled for the foundation, and the HOA crew blocked our driveway. The confrontation was tense. Shouts were exchanged. I ended up bruised, but thankfully, a neighbor witnessed it. Another piece of evidence collected. They thought they could intimidate us with brute force. We countered with documentation, witnesses, and patience. It didn't stop there. One night, someone cut the power to our security system. For a moment, panic gripped me, but Ava had anticipated it. Our cameras switched to battery backup with LTE failover, recording everything. And that's when we got a clear, high-definition view of Ted, bolt cutters in hand, cutting the junction box. He looked directly at the camera, triumphant. We had him. Every move was caught. Every misstep recorded. Their arrogance handed us the perfect evidence. As the harassment escalated, eggs thrown, notes left, intimidation, Ava maintained her calm. The most chilling moment was an anonymous email sent to us with screenshots of HOA board chats. Karen Fraser's own words, along with Gary and Ted's, laid out a plan, whatever it takes. Cut their utilities. Make them feel unsafe. They need to go. It was premeditated. It was criminal. And it was in writing. Suddenly, the chaos around us had a pattern. The notes, the intimidation, the fake marshal, the assaults, all of it was part of a coordinated campaign. But instead of breaking us, it only strengthened our resolve. Ava had the foresight to save every screenshot, every video, every detail. We had the beginning of a perfect legal case forming. We also realized that we weren't alone. Some neighbors like Nate had witnessed events quietly. He seemed nervous, then cautious, and eventually became a quiet ally. Community, it turned out, wasn't just about shared property. It was about shared truth. To counter the HOA's lies about property lines and views, we hired a licensed surveyor and GIS technician. The surveyor meticulously verified all stakes, confirming our property was intact and the HOA's claims were false. The GIS technician created a 3D model, a digital representation proving the house's location, height, and lack of obstruction to neighboring views. Their evidence would become irrefutable. We had amassed a mountain of proof, assault witnesses, videos of vandalism, screenshots of conspiratorial chats, survey reports, and GIS data. We weren't just defending a home, we were documenting a civil conspiracy. Even the petty neighborhood theatrics became tools. When Karen and her cronies escalated with small acts of harassment, eggs, notes, intimidation, we found ways to turn them into victories. We projected sunsets onto a massive screen at the end of our driveway, inviting neighbors to watch for free. Children laughed, neighbors mingled, and Karen's own obsession was used against her. She could no longer claim exclusivity of the view when the whole street was invited to see it. It was petty, yes, but it was strategic. As the court date approached, we felt a quiet confidence. We were armed not with anger, but with preparation. We had evidence, facts, and the law on our side. Every move the HOA had made to intimidate us only created a stronger case. The story that began as a dispute over a simple view was evolving into a high-stakes battle between calculated malice and patient strategy, between ego and the quiet power of evidence. By the end of part 1, we were no longer victims. We were prepared, vigilant, and calm. The HOA believed they could intimidate us, but in reality, they had just played into our hands. The stage was set for a showdown not of fists, but of strategy, law, and undeniable truth. The war over the ridge had only begun, and it was already ours to win. The morning after Ava discovered the leaked HOA chat screenshots, the sunlight seemed sharper, almost cutting through the tension that had settled around our trailer like a thick fog. I sat on the edge of the bed, coffee in hand, staring at the email again, unwilling to believe what I was reading. Every detail confirmed our worst fears, and yet gave me an unexpected thrill. Evidence of a full-blown conspiracy, names, dates, plans. The messages painted a perfect timeline of their attacks. Karen, Gary, Ted, all orchestrating harassment, intimidation, and outright criminal acts. Ava, calm as ever, was already at her laptop, organizing the screenshots into neatly labeled folders. I watched her work with awe. She had the patience of a saint and the mind of a chess grandmaster. Every email, every video, every note was being cross-referenced, catalogued, backed up multiple times. "We're not just going to fight back," she said quietly. "We're going to end this, clean, perfect, by the book." Her foresight was terrifying and brilliant. The first thing we did was contact Deputy Miller. He had been our unofficial guardian angel throughout this ordeal, documenting the HOA's misdeeds, noting every detail. We sent him the screenshots with a calm, concise email, proof of criminal conspiracy, coordinated harassment, and intimidation. Full timeline attached. Within hours, he called back, voice buzzing with excitement. "You've just handed us the playbook," he said. "This is solid gold. Criminal charges are more than possible now." But before we could celebrate, reality hit. Karen Fraser wasn't about to roll over. We had legal proof, public records, and irrefutable evidence, but she still wielded power in the neighborhood. The HOA had the means to make our lives miserable while the law slowly caught up. We were prepared, but that didn't make the psychological warfare any easier. Within days, we received another letter from their lawyer. It wasn't a threat this time. It was a pathetic attempt at manipulation, a lowball offer to buy back our land at the price we had paid, with an insulting premium for troubles. Ava read it aloud as we sat at the kitchen table. I could barely contain my laughter. "They really think this will scare us," I said. She just smiled, tapping the screen. "No, Bob. They're panicking, and panic made them sloppy." From there, petty harassment escalated. Eggs on the trailer, anonymous notes, confrontations at the grocery store. Every act was designed to make us feel isolated, unwelcome, anxious. But Ava had a plan even for that. We catalogued it all. Every photo, every video, every note. And we weren't just passive observers. We began turning the neighborhood sentiment to our favor. One evening, as the sun began to dip behind the mountains, I had a ridiculous idea. Ava was sipping cocoa on the tailgate, enjoying the sunset. I leaned toward her, grinning. "They're mad because they think we're hoarding the sunset," I said. "What if we shared it? So much they get sick of it?" Ava's smile was slow, measured. "You're ridiculous." "I like it." By the next weekend, we had set up a massive outdoor projector at the end of our driveway, streaming the live sunset onto a giant screen. We had speakers with peaceful music, cocoa and cookies, a hand-painted sign, "Free Sunset, all welcome." The HOA's obsession with exclusivity became our weapon. At first, neighbors hesitated, but soon they were drawn in by the warmth, laughter, and sheer absurdity. Children ran around, friends sipped cocoa, and the petty feud that had isolated us transformed into a community gathering. Even Nate, quiet and nervous before, came over, smiling. Karen Fraser, watching from a distance, could only fume, her control slipping through her fingers like water. She left in a golf cart, her anger palpable, as neighbors whispered, chuckled, and began to see the HOA's obsession for what it really was, selfishness masquerading as morality. Meanwhile, our legal strategy was heating up. We had the stake-moving incident recorded, the fake marshal documented, assault witnesses lined up, and the HOA's own chat logs detailing their conspiracy. But we needed a final, indisputable piece of evidence, science. We hired a licensed surveyor, Mr. Evans, and a GIS technician. They arrived with an arsenal of tools: drones, GPS antennas, laser scanners. The surveyor meticulously verified our property markers and measured boundaries with precision. The GIS technician created a 3D model, mapping our house, Karen's, Gary's, and the surrounding lots. Every elevation, every coordinate, every line was catalogued. The final report would show that not only were the HOA's claims baseless, but our house was fully compliant with county regulations, and their sunset view complaints were a fabrication. Days later, the report arrived. Thick, detailed with charts, maps, and legal terminology. The executive summary? 3 simple facts. Our property boundaries were accurate. The stakes moved inward. Our foundation and structure complied with all county regulations. GIS analysis proved that neighboring sunset views remained largely untouched. The HOA's claims were lies. We now held the trifecta: legal compliance, eyewitness testimony, and scientific proof. The HOA had nothing left but arrogance. When the official court date arrived, I felt a strange calm. The binders Ava had prepared were immaculate, tabbed, cross-referenced, easy for anyone, even a judge, to follow. Karen and her cronies arrived, confident, smug, armed with a slick lawyer and toy model arguments. But when the proceedings began, the cracks in their facade appeared immediately. Their lawyer waved a miniature physical model of our houses, attempting to show obstruction. Judge Rollins, a sharp, no-nonsense man with zero tolerance for nonsense, looked at it and then at our GIS report. A low chuckle became laughter, growing until he had tears in his eyes. "Are you seriously submitting this from a dollhouse as evidence?" he asked. The courtroom went silent. The lawyer's face turned red. Karen's turned pale. By the end, it was over. Judge Rollins dismissed the HOA's case with prejudice, sanctioned them for costs, referred criminal activity to the DA, and basically handed us a complete victory. The aftermath was swift. The DE investigated, the fake marshal was exposed, Gary and Ted were arrested, and Karen was eventually handcuffed for her role in the conspiracy. Their HOA imploded. Our neighbors, once silent, came forward to apologize, support, and even celebrate. Nate became HOA president, issuing a formal apology and reimbursing us for all costs. Concrete, survey, security system. Our house, our home was finally safe, but the real victory wasn't legal. It was communal. We had transformed fear and harassment into connection. On the first day of summer, we hosted a block party, sharing the sunset once again. No speeches, no gloating, just neighbors, laughter, children running, dogs playing, and a shared horizon. The sky, the sunset, and the view belonged to everyone, not the few, consumed by selfish obsession. Ava leaned on the deck railing, the warm wood under our feet, smiling as neighbors watched the valley lights blink on like quiet applause. I looked at her, grateful, amazed, and utterly relieved. We had fought with patience, strategy, and truth. We had faced bullies and conspirators without losing our humor, our integrity, or our community. Our home was no longer a battleground. It was a sanctuary. And the sunset. That glorious, endless, untouchable sunset belonged to all of us. Sometimes, victory isn't just about law, evidence, or revenge. It's about standing your ground with courage and intelligence, documenting truth, and letting justice, slow, deliberate, undeniable, unfold. The HOA thought they could intimidate us with lies, threats, and malice. They underestimated the quiet power of preparation, foresight, and patience. Today, our ridge stands not as a monument to victory, but as a testament to integrity, resilience, and community. The sunsets still rise and fall, just as they always have. They don't belong to one person, one HOA, or one bully. They belong to anyone willing to watch, appreciate, and stand up for what's right. And for Ava and me, the lesson is simple. When faced with tyranny cloaked in civility, always document, always prepare, and always trust the boring power of truth. The sun will set, but it will rise again, brighter and more beautiful than ever, just like our home and the community we fought to protect.